Laura, you got any cool, like, you got any cool places you're going this summertime?
Yes. So I'm leaving on Friday to go to Amsterdam for 3 days, and then flying from Amsterdam to Zambia for an 8-day safari. And then we are coming back from Zambia through Dublin and spending 3 days in Dublin. So it's like a 17, when you count for like the overnight flights and stuff, it's about 17 or 18 days. And so, yes, I will be very much off the grid the next almost 3 weeks, doing some major international travel. And so that's why I kind of like preface with like, here's my domestic and here's my international plan. And so like, I completely agree with you, Maclin. Like I have a full schedule like planned out for Amsterdam, Dublin. If I wake up at 5 a.m. like I normally do, I'm not doing outdoor activities, so I might get a workout in, but in the hotel because I picked it so that I had the opportunity. But if I somehow miraculously sleep in, we're going to just be like, okay, we've got 40,000 steps in Amsterdam today because we walked across the entire city 4 times, and that's good enough.
Yeah. So what's your plan actually when you go to Africa? That sounds dope. I would love to go to Africa and do a safari. But like, what are you gonna do for like food and all that kind of stuff? Because I know you have some uh, food issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I will say I'm very
food intolerances.
Yeah. So not able to eat gluten and dairy. I will say that I am very blessed to be able to go on this trip. Honestly, I was supposed to be with my grandparents for their 60th wedding anniversary, and doing unfortunately just with their age they pulled out like a few weeks ago. So now it's just gonna be Matt and I and my mom. And so we're going, and I will say I am grateful for this because it was a gift. But it's very glamping, and they provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you can provide your dietary restrictions. And so we did this for their 50th or 47th wedding anniversary 13 years ago. And so they cook all your meals for you, which is really awesome. And they, from what I recall, it's like very family style. So they make the family style to the dietary restrictions there. So because of that, I'm really not concerned at all. It's more so that, and I'm going to embrace this. I will say, like, if you follow me on Instagram, I will not be tracking during this time because I will be airplane mode 1000 and there's no service in the middle of the bush. Minor details. And so a lot of times they'll make breakfast in a big spread of like an English style because the company is English based in Zambia. And so they'll provide breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then they have tea time, and then they have sundowners where you have like a little cocktail, watching the sunset, watching like the giraffes walk across that horizon.
Dude.
So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it, and I'll come back and pick back up. But I know that I put all the pennies in the bank the rest of the 50 weeks of the year, so I'm really not concerned about it.
I didn't even think about it because it's like, it totally makes sense that you would love planning, because I should have just like texted you and been like, bro, can I pay you to like plan this Tulum trip? Because I started doing it, and then it was like, I was texting our friend Maria, and I was just like, just tell me what hotel you stayed at. Like, I got so overwhelmed because it's like, you go on TripAdvisor and 11 million reviews and all these pictures, and you're like, yeah, but like, what if it's not real? It's like so much stuff. I feel like present day, I've gone to so many restaurants or so many locations where they look beautiful on Instagram, and then in real life, you're like, oh, cool, this donut shop is like not popping, not it, right? So now I know. I spent like 3 days, I was spiraling. I was like, okay, well, if we book this hotel, but if we book this hotel, I'm texting you next time.
Influencers have ruined everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have a whole document of like every place, like especially Amsterdam and Dublin. I had 72 hours to be like, what's the most we can pack in, but also like have balance, because I get one museum per destination. Like that's about all I can do. So I'm like, yeah. I planned my day around the food options. I was like, okay, great. Like gluten-free, like bakery here, and then coffee shop that's super highly rated, and then like 5-star restaurant that I can only get like an Amsterdam gluten-free pancake in. So of course I'm going to do that. So like I booked, like I have that entire thing. The hard part was on my calendar, like 1 a.m. like Colorado time. So it's like putting things on, and Matt's like, what are all these invites coming in for 1 a.m.? And I'm like, those are our restaurant reservations for when we're going. So yeah, that's my goal there, is that I stress and like swirl around it beforehand, so that once we get on the airplane, I'm like, oh, it's already planned. I just have to show up and like be here at this point. So
I think it's just so key here. That's like, you planned not your entire year, but it's like you plan leading up to the vacation so that you could, again, feel exactly how you want to feel, do the things you want to do. And I think that really is the biggest takeaway. If I could just give anything about when it comes to navigating summer, navigating travel, is it's like you get to be in charge. And then reversely too, you got to be comfortable with the things that might come as a result of the decisions you made is super huge too.
I was going to ask you, what was your plan in Tulum? Because you haven't gone on a little international trip for a hot minute though.
I was a little nervous, to be honest, that Tulum would be like the Instagram-y clickbait of like, it sounds really cool. And then you get there and you're just like, wee. But I talked to enough people that were like, no, dude, like go. And specifically, I'm going to keep plugging our friend Maria, but she went for her honeymoon and then she ended up going again. And so that was my like determining factor is she booked at the same hotel twice. And so she was like, it's a little expensive, but I think the thing too, it's like safety is obviously huge. And I do actually know people that have run into some cartel stuff or just weird situations, depending on where you venture to. So honestly, my goal for this trip is I just want to be relaxed and not be stressed out. And so I can go both ways. Like I love doing the most on trips and like booking everything there is to do. I told Charlie, I was like, bro, we could literally like sit at the beach or sit at the pool and like, that's good. So I'm like kind of toying around with the idea. The only thing is we're staying on like the actual strip of Tulum rather than more in the jungle, which is where a lot of other stuff is. And so they have these really cool little excursions that you can do. And so basically you go to kind of these natural water holes that they just look like something you would find on Pinterest. Like honestly, every picture I've seen has been out of control. So we're trying to see if we can book an excursion because the tricky thing for us is transportation to and from places can get really, really expensive. So if we can find an excursion where it'll be like, yo, we'll pick you up and take you back to the hotel, like we're in. But otherwise, if it was like we were having to book, like I think it was quite a few $100s to get basically from the airport down to like where we're staying. So, it's like, again, trying to have fun, but also not trying to break the bank. But,
Well, what are you going to do about food?
Food, for the most part, our goal is to just kind of stay at the hotel that we are at. So it sounds like when you look at the map, there's quite a few little restaurants and stuff like that. But I'm just thinking in my head anyway, this is like probably the one trip I've taken that I haven't planned a ton for. Normally I am more like Laura where I'm like researching, doing the most, and I just like don't have the space for it. And so I'm going to kind of YOLO. But my goal is just, can I order some sort of fajita situation is usually pretty safe. So can we get, some sort of steak or chicken or shrimp at most meals? Interestingly, there is actually like a sushi place. And so I was trying to decide if that would, I guess I need to look at some reviews and stuff. But for the most part, my goal is always just how can I have a big serving of protein? How can I have a well-rounded plate in terms of protein, a carb, a fat? If I could get a vegetable like once a day, I feel like I'm smashing it. We will for sure. Maria gave the tip of like, hey, definitely stop at a grocery store before you get to the hotel. So we'll probably stop in and just basically make sure we've got tons of high fiber foods, so like instant oatmeal, tons of fruits and berries, that sort of thing. Make sure we got some snacks and stuff. So that's kind of, I'm definitely winging it. Like this is me really doing what trying something new. Because again, like it's not a vacation also if you're like hyper stressing about where am I going to eat, what we going to do. So new year, new me, trying something different.